Now, there's a fresh push for government to impose a complete ban on plastics in Ghana as the crisis deepens. Now, the country is currently struggling to control plastic waste. At a forum in Accra today, civil society organizations championing a cleaner Ghana called on government to place a ban on conventional plastics while it takes measures to manage the plastic menace in the system. Now, according to them, the worsening plastic pollution is threatening the existence of mankind. Dr. Philip Amwa spoke on behalf of the groups at the 7th West African Clean Energy and Environment Conference right here in Accra.
In terms of handling plastics, you buy a small 1 cedi worth of porridge. It is put in a plastic container, a white one, and then that white one is put in another black container, tied nicely, and then the whole thing is now put in another bag which you can carry. So for just 1 cedi worth of cocoa that you bought or the porridge that you bought, 3 polythene bags. So I've made it my habit that if I buy anything like that, I take only one. See? Now it's our behavior. If we're able to actually handle this menace very well, that will be fine. But the way we behave, throwing plastic bags around, I was in an organization and we actually decided that we are not going to use plastic cups anymore because people come to the office, they drink, like we have here around this place, they drink and they put a plastic container there. So if you have 100 people visiting the office, they are all producing waste, on quotes, waste plastic bags, cups. See, these days people are trying to actually come out maybe even something that is recyclable. It can be a cup, but if it is a paper cup, for example, it can be recycled, then that is better. Or we can even ask people to even go to shops with their own carrier bags. If you go to a shop and you buy something and you are told that it's not going to be packaged for you, you know that I have to go in there with my own polythene bag or my own carrier, my own basket, and that is fine. So I think it's time we start looking at some of these solutions in order to address, or to be able to address this plastic issue. That's my personal opinion. If it is banned, I know it's going to affect so many people, but if it is banned because of the way we behave, for me it is fine.
What of segregation of waste? You know, there are people, some organizations, you know, when you go there, they have the red container for the organic waste. They have colors, you know, that is what I'm trying to say. They have containers for plastics. Do you think that is also a problem in us not being able to recycle, you know, our waste?
I think a lot of education has to go into that. How many people go to public places and they have seen these things and they want to dump into the right container? I've seen it several times when I travel outside this country. Bottles, papers, organics, and all that there. But then you have this one place somewhere, somebody go and put organics in plastics. They will mix them together. You see? So I think the level of education too has to start, I think it has to start from the school. I have a small school in Kumasi. And what I've done is that I've placed these containers, different colors. And right from the very beginning, I'm training them to be putting waste in these bins according to this segregation thing that you mentioned. You see, now if we start from the young ones, otherwise, people have not been able to appreciate the fact that segregation our waste is a means of actually addressing some of these plastic issues and then also solving this sanitation issue generally. But then, if we make the effort to actually educate people to be able to segregate their waste right from the households, that is one thing. But even the people who are waste collectors should also be educated. If I segregate my waste, okay, into maybe 3 different bins, organic, plastics, bottles, and they come and they'll put everything again into one big truck, what have we done? So what it means is that we need to actually educate ourselves. I know some examples are working in some parts of even Accra here, right? I know Jekora Ventures is practicing this where it's even from households, people trying to segregate their waste into different fractions. But I think the education has to go more. That's Accra. What about Bolga? What about Cape Coast? What about Takrady? What about other parts of the country? The education should be widened a bit. Right. The laws are there. We have the laws sitting in our books, but the implementation is a problem. You see, enforcement is the issue. Okay, if somebody throws out maybe plastics around, what is the sanction? It's our attitude. What we do is that we just let the person go, and that is it. I saw one day on TV where one municipal chief executive actually asked somebody who dumped refuse on the street to be cleaning. At least people should be made aware that if you indiscriminately dump refuse into the environment, there are sanctions and they have to be enforced.
Right, now with me in the studio is Abigail Raruna. Now she's the head of operations at Clean Team Ghana Limited. Abigail, it's good to see you. So let's perhaps start with the fundamental details here. What exactly is the threat posed to us by the proliferation of plastics?
Yeah, I think the threat is very real. You go out now in the street, you see plastic in the road, on the gutters. Most of the choked gutters are as a result of plastics. So it is very obvious. It's very obvious the threat it's posing to us. Even flooding, I think, can be attributed to it because it's plastic that is choking most of our gutters. So it's real, and if we don't do anything about it, I think in the near future, even our farmlands will be full of plastic.
Now, you don't believe that we can manage it. You think an outright ban is the only way forward. Why is that?
Yeah, I think an outright ban is the way forward. I don't know if you've been to any landfill site recently, but you will see that about 90% of the waste is plastic. How long will it take the waste to degrade? I don't know. Some people say 100 years, others say more. So if we keep at this rate at which we are producing plastic, if we keep producing plastic at that rate, where would we be storing it for that 100 years? So for me, to be able to make some drastic changes, we need to take drastic measures. If we ban it outright, there will be challenges, but we'll adjust.
Right.
Yes,
now,
we will.
Let's talk about those challenges because these are the reasons why we haven't banned it outright. So let's talk through them and how you think we can address the challenges. Okay.
For instance, basically, if you buy anything in Ghana, you get 2 or 3 plastic bags. Yeah. When I was growing up, if you are going to the market, you carry a basket. In that case, whatever you are buying is wrapped in a sheet of paper, in a leaf, and you put it in your basket. If you are going to buy food, you go with your own bowl and you buy the food. Why can't we do that again and stop the plastic? I think they'll even reduce cost for market women. They don't have to buy plastics. And you get a basket.
It's a convenience issue though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. So people would have to find ways to be able to either carry water bottles around, carry baskets, and you buy your things and you cover it nicely with a net like we used to do. I think it's all. And you are buying food in your own bowl. Sometimes you are buying food and you are worried what the effect of the plastic is on the food you are going to eat. But if you are buying it in a bowl, you are bringing it from your house, you know how clean it is, and you are sure that what you are eating is safe. So until you are faced with a challenge, you will never think about alternative ways of doing things. And I think it will take some getting used to, but we can do it. We will not die without plastic.
Now, as a country, I mean, our impact on global warming and so forth is not as big as some of the westernized or modernized countries. People interpret that to mean that there is no emergency when it comes to some of these environmental friendly practices that are being pushed. For example, the banning of plastics. Is that an important factor, the fact that Ghana is not one of the biggest polluters? Does that mean that we have a bit of time? We can take our time about it and try and fix this plastic problem little by little? No,
I don't think there is time. What happens in one side of the world affects every other side of it, even in very small ways. I think the recent rains, we've had a lot of rains, and sometimes I actually get scared because in as late as late October, early November, we are still having rains, which is not normal. And I think it all has to do with climate change. So whatever we are doing here in Ghana is having an impact worldwide. And if we are going to stop it, then we have to start it now. If you wait until you are in the problem, then how do you reverse it? Yeah. So I think there is a saying that if you see your colleague's beard burning, you fetch water and put under yours before it starts burning. So I think we should take steps to mitigate it before we are in that emergency zone. And we have a responsibility to, I think, the entire world, not just Ghana.
Now, here's the reality. This is not the first time this conversation has come up. Under the previous government, there was actually what appeared to be a concrete move to ban plastics. Minister for Environment, Science and Technology then came back and had to explain to government, to the people of Ghana, why they themselves cannot go ahead with the plan they themselves proposed, because they met with massive resistance. This is a reality of trying to do anything in Ghana. The people who benefit from the problem will fight back. What should be the strategy here?
That is where it takes strong leadership. No change is easy. Change is difficult for everyone, but change is the only constant thing also in nature. If we don't change, then we don't move forward as a people, and we need strong leaders to be able to push that change. Yes, there will be consequences. People may not see the benefits now, but I think future generations will look back and be grateful for that action that was taken. So in the long term, government may not make any gains, but in the long term, I think it will make a great impact for us as a nation. So I think our leaders need to be bold and kind of strong about it. There are a few people that also agree with that, and I think those people should also kind of back government in that fight.
Are there examples of countries nearby who are doing better in the fight than we are?
Yeah, I think off the top of my head, Kenya has taken a strong step in that direction in banning plastics. But even as we are talking about banning plastics, there should be kind of alternatives that people can, environmentally friendly alternatives that people can use. So I think we can follow Kenya's example, and in implementing that, there should be alternatives that people can easily access.
How are we managing the problem in the meantime? I mean, plastics are not yet banned. So yes, they're all over the place, filling our gutters, landfills, and so forth. Organizations like yours are trying to stem the tide. What exactly are you doing, and how successful have you been so far?
In my organization, we are trying to stop open defecation. We are providing household toilets for urban poor. And I think for all of us as Ghanaians, those of us who don't like, especially those of us who don't like the fact that the rate at which plastic waste is increasing, everyone needs to take a stand. And I believe that little actions can become big ones. So we can start by rejecting plastic. So if you go to buy to the market, or you go to buy something and you are given plastic, reject it. Carry your own bag or something. We should lead in our own small ways by example. So if I refuse plastic, you refuse plastic, the next person refuses plastic. People are watching. Why are these people not collecting plastic? You get the opportunity to educate someone, and we are educating each other. And in the end, I think the ripple effect would be great.
Now, jobs will be lost because there's so much manufacturing that produces all the plastics that you are proposing we ban. Jobs will be lost. Businesses will crumble. What's your mitigation for that? When you propose this to government, a government that is trying to create jobs and turn the economy around, what mitigation do you add so that government would actually consider it worthwhile?
Yeah, I think we can look at recycling. These plastic organizations don't have to go out of business. They just have to produce plastic that can be recycled. I think at the Kumasi landfill site, I've seen it, people are on the landfill site bringing back plastic to be recycled. So why don't we put in measures such that these plastics don't have to get to the landfill site? They are collected from household level and brought back to be recycled, so that these companies can still be in business. Or like I said, government can also provide alternatives. Apart from producing these plastics, can those same companies produce alternative sources that are more environmentally friendly? Those are other options that they can look at.
All right. Well, listen, I've got to thank you very much for your time with us. For certainly enlightening, and we'll see where the campaign goes next, and where the government is now in a position to follow the advice of groups like yours. Right. Now, throughout Ghana, plastics are a big problem. 73% of all imported plastics effectively end up as waste. But the situation is even more worrying when you consider the fact that naturally plastics do not decompose. They're not biodegradable. So while not much of it is recycled, there is an innovation on the horizon which is set to change this